me about yourself and give me a bit of the story of Rachel Wood and then maybe transition in how you got into crypto and NFTs.
Um, wow, that's such a big question because I'm always just like, where do I start? And I guess I should start with like my intro to photography because I'm a photographer here in the NFT space, but I'm also an AI artist and I'm also a community builder and I'm also just so incredibly like spread so far in the NFT Web3 ethos. But I started photography back in 2019. I had quit my office job because I was like, I do not like working in a box and on a computer. Um, and I sold everything. I took my Christmas money. I bought a camera, like my first, like, professional camera. And I just set out with a backpack around the world. I don't know what I was thinking, but it was probably the best decision I've ever made in my life because it's led to some incredible opportunities.
You said 2019. That's like right as COVID was starting to happen or right before COVID, and then you decided
So
to travel. Yeah.
it was the year before COVID, really. Yeah, I don't know. When COVID happened, oh my goodness, I was actually on a boat in Antarctica when COVID was really becoming a thing, and so I didn't hear about it. And so I landed back on the mainland, Ushuaia, Argentina, and people were, passing around this like news of COVID. And I was like, oh, it's not going to affect me. Like, it's just like a Zika virus. I'll be aware
Right.
of it, but life's going to continue on. Obviously, that didn't happen.
You bought a camera in 2019, started traveling the world. How many countries have you been to at this point? Have you been keeping track?
No, but I've been to
What?
every single continent in this on Earth.
Okay,
Um,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, and Antarctica, like how many people go there, you know? Not many, I don't think.
it's actually I to me, I always feel like once you go to some place, you start meeting a lot of people who've been to that same place. Like
Mm.
somehow we just like attract each other. We're like on another level. We're like, oh, that person has also been to the same place as you have been. Since going to Antarctica, I've met many people who've also been, and some have been in the same year I went. Not on the same boat, obviously, but it's yeah, the world keeps getting smaller and smaller, and it's amazing how that happens.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And the same is true with crypto, I think. You know, as soon as you make that connection, like, oh, hey, you're into NFTs, it's like you immediately share that bond. So you became a photographer before you started like digitizing and then creating NFTs out of your photography, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
what was that transition like? Yeah, and what was that journey like?
So I actually came into crypto first. I was diversifying my portfolio. I heard of Bitcoin. I was like kind of intrigued by the technology behind it. And so I kind of hopped in there. But then my friends were all kind of talking about this art NFTs, selling their work for, like thousands of dollars. And I'm just like, what? What's happening? But imposter syndrome hit me, and because I was so new to photography, I was like, oh, it's not for me. I'm not an influencer. I don't have a lot of followers. I think I had maybe 1,000 Instagram followers online. I still viewed myself as learning photography. And I don't know. I had all of these excuses, like these excuses of like how I wasn't good enough to join Web3 and NFTs. But I hopped onto Twitter. I got swept up into some incredible communities and like started connecting with people like artists, collectors, crypto enthusiasts. And it was incredible. Oh my goodness. And I realized first coming in that I was doing a disservice to myself and to all the other small emerging artists
Hmm.
because the space was filled with wins and big people, and I realized that I wanted to also show that little people could also have a place in Web3. So here I am trying to advocate that, that old saying, well, now it's an old saying, wag me, anyone can, we're all going to make it. Um, I do believe that we all can make it. We're not all going to make it, but if we work together, the future will become more inclusive for all artists and people alike.
I love that. And so maybe you started in a small way, but you've done all sorts of really amazing things since joining. So I guess I'd love to hear some of your highlights in that. Whether it's speaking at a conference or being able to work with time or whatever that might be. Yeah, tell me about that.
This is like one of the hardest questions. Oh my goodness. It it kind of snowballed. So I think I have to start with my first edition piece that sold out within a few hours of it dropping. I was new. Everyone's saying like, oh, price one of one, super high. I'm kind of a rebel where I don't like doing everything that everyone else is doing. Because I think that just makes no sense as an artist who's unique and different and who lives her own life. Why should I copycat people? So everyone was telling me, don't do editions. They're so last year, you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot. You're not gonna make it. I was like, I'm gonna try. So I did, it happened, and that caused me to have so much more enthusiasm in my own work. And that started that avalanche of me being more bullish on my own art when I could see that what I was doing, whatever I did, had value.
Hmm.
And so that was like the first like really big moment for me. The second big moment was when I founded the Artverse, and that's a community of collectors and artists trying to bridge that gap and elevate artists' voices in this space. I'm still incredibly passionate about that community. It is a little bit slow, obviously, because bear market. But also it's a cause I still fully believe in because I think artists in this space need more resources on how to first manage business and sell their artwork in a way that's not just push, 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 shill, 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 fingers crossed and toes, curled as we wait for someone to believe in us. I think there should be more intention and effort behind it. Um, and then, of course, I really love all the fundraising charity work I've been able to do. My first one was raising funds for, I think, breast cancer, and that went amazingly well. I've done, I don't know the exact number, but throughout last year and to this year, I think I've done about over $50,000 in fundraising for charities all around the world.
That's
My
awesome.
biggest one was Winter Has Come one for Ukraine and Syrian earthquake relief efforts. That was awesome. Super, super fun. And of course, this one that we're doing right now with you guys, the Hunger to Hope, has that mission is just so incredibly personal to me. Um, and I love the art, obviously, that I put into it. And I love all the other artists who are part of it. Like, you guys are doing a great job with just promoting and keeping up the momentum. So, yeah, really proud
Yeah,
to be.
that's a perfect segue. So let's talk about From Hunger to Hope. So I oversee the Web3 team at Compassion, and I'm actually a part of a there's kind of a team within Compassion International is a very big nonprofit, but there's an innovation arm of Compassion called Compassion of Tomorrow, and so we're thinking of how can we reach the next generation, new audiences, and share kind of the mission of releasing children from poverty with people that are totally unfamiliar with compassion. And so that our first kind of foray into Web3 was the Many Hands project, and collection of 5,000 NFTs, and we sold out in 26 minutes and sent 32 Haitian students to the college or university of their choice. So that was really cool. And then we what we're doing now and what we're I'm super excited about and you're a part of is this exhibition of raising enough funds to feed 20,000 people that are suffering from the global food crisis. So I think, there's not, there's so many things that are happening in the world. There's so much that happens in America. And I feel like it's so easy to just focus on what's happening at home. And we sometimes, and this is the beauty of travel, right? I've had the privilege of traveling a lot too. And I think that helps to open kind of eyes and perceptions of like, hey, the world is much bigger than our own home country, and there's a lot of people going through lots of different things, people that are living day to day, and even and maybe at best month to month, whereas we're looking at like how what's the next 5 years look like. And so I think that's one of my favorite things, and what I get really kind of passionate about is just there are incredible human beings all over this planet, and many that are not in the same position we are, and we have an opportunity to like rally around this cause of helping them get through the next month and in a really impactful way. I mean, food is meaningful to us all. So yeah, this exhibition runs June 9th to 23rd. This podcast is gonna, hopefully the plan is to get out right away here. So we have the BBRC, Ivy Boys community, Jeremy Cowart, Joelle, there's Julie Pacino, Pixelmon, there's Rachel Yu, Sad Girls Bar, and Tennessee Loveless. And so there's a kind of a hybrid of one-of-ones and open editions. So every $50 goes to feed 5 people, family of 5. And we had a Twitter space a few days ago, and you were sharing the significance of the family of 5. I'd love for you to just, share that story and a little bit of your upbringing and why this, matters to you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks. I come from a family of 5, but I wasn't born into this family of 5. I was actually adopted from Vietnam back in a long time ago. Uh, and I guess for me, first, hunger is something that I've experienced myself in my life. It's something that really changes and takes away all the energy of life to just focus on where your next meal is going to come from. Is it going to be good? Are you actually going to like it? Like, do you have that luxury to even like decide if you like the food or not? Because your hunger is just like gnawing away at everything that is a part of your life. So
Hmm.
that's something that I personally have dealt with. A family of 5 is, like I said, representative of my family, and we never really had a lot of money growing up. So that to me just kind of resonated. I don't know why. I love numbers and I love my family. We're doing much better right now. So I'm very grateful for that. But we couldn't have done that without other people's support, without other people's generosity, helping my family in our time of need. So whenever I can, I try to pay it forward. I try to do whatever I can to help others through my actions, through my art, through, advocating and educating. I mean, there's so many different ways people can give, and all of it is valuable.
Hmm.
I truly believe every single thing, no matter if it's a retweet or just sharing a fundraiser with a friend or just joining and volunteering your own time, it all matters.
Yeah, I love that. Uh, let's talk about your art pieces that you have contributed to this. So you have an open edition and you have one of one. Let's start with the. Well, I guess which one? They're both releasing at the same time. Do you happen to know the date? Oh,
Yes, so I think it's June 17th.
I think. Yep, that's right. 4 days from now.
Yeah, I'm so excited for them to drop because one, they're 2 images I really love. One of them is a picture of a Mongolian eagle hunter, and he has his eagle on his arm, spreading her wings out wide, and it's such a powerful image to me. One, because it came from such a wonderful trip that I took with National Geographic Expedition. It was a solo expedition with them. And yeah, I was able to meet a three-time champion eagle hunter and kind of learn and see how they live and meet the family and meet the eagle. Oh my gosh, that was awe-inspiring just to see a centuries old tradition of hunting and gathering in the real. That was very cool. The
It's
second image, what?
well, can I just wanted to say it's a phenomenal image, and like the time of day that you captured it too is you know couldn't be better. You know all the depth in the sky. What is the what are they hunting for? I know it's a really obvious question, but what does the eagle go catch?
Yeah, so actually the Mongolians use golden eagles, female golden eagles, to hunt wolves and foxes in the
Wow.
mountains up north. I know it's like you use birds to hunt wolves. They do because these eagles are fierce. And the reason why they choose the females and not the males is because females are typically larger and they are more brutal in the
Wow.
hunting. They're better hunters or huntresses. Um, so I thought that was pretty cool where, they only use the females, not the males. But of course, they do release them back into the wild because they understand that this relationship between the eagles helping them feed their families by hunting, they also have to give back those eagles so that they can, you know, have their own babies and continue their own way of life as eagles. Because if they didn't, then, they wouldn't be any more eagles. And where would they be? Not
Right.
eating.
That's cool. That's very neat. Yeah, and then the next one is called Feast Like Kings. And is this from your? This is not from your Antarctica trip. This is a different trip.
No, it
I
is.
just
It is.
oh, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually from, so when I went to Antarctica, I spent 3 weeks on a boat and we went to the Falkland Islands, South Georgia Island, and then Antarctica for a week. Um, just because I was down there, I was like, I might as well hit these other countries because this is an expensive trip. Um, and it was amazing. South Georgia is probably one of my favorite all-time places in the world because of the wildlife. And what most people don't know is that the South Georgia Island has more biodiversity than the Galapagos Islands, supposedly.
Wow.
If you were ever to go down there and see those extreme conditions of snow, ice, wind, changing weather, and yet thriving communities, it it confounds you. It really is so inspiring to see so many animals coexisting and also feeding each other in a very, very brutal environment. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many things to be said, and I won't drone on here, but definitely one of my top five places in the world.
That's very cool. Yeah, the picture is really neat. I and someone needs to count how many penguins are in this picture. There are so many. It is like it's quite amazing. Yeah, it was very cool, and great title of the artwork, Feast Like Kings. So from hunger to hope .xyz, you can go there to learn more about the exhibition and purchase one of Rachel's open editions or bid on the one of one.
Yeah, I would love to share about my recent trip I just came back from, and that was Vietnam, the place I was adopted from. And this was the first time I've been back as a photographer. And I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know what I was going to get. But in this sort of mindset of thinking about hunger to hope, I started noticing a little bit more of the fishing culture in
Mm,
Vietnam. And I think this is apparent in a bunch of other places that could be considered like second world, first world countries, but still hold and celebrate and practice very traditional methods of gathering for food. In Vietnam, because the ecosystems are incredibly fragile and they understand it even at a governmental level, they preserve their more traditional ways of fishing on the rivers, in lagoons, on the ocean. All of it is still very similar to how they were doing it centuries ago.
wow.
And to me, as someone who is, is in America and is surrounded by all the most incredible modern conveniences and technologies, it was wonderful just to reconnect back to my homeland, back to my birthplace, as well as these very, in a way, complicated and yet simple methods of gathering food. And to me, that was something that was profoundly impactful on this last trip. I've worked for, I would say, like 90% of my lifetime in fundraising and nonprofits and charity work and volunteer work. And the biggest hurdle we always have is fundraising and building up that trust because we all know there's some really crap situations out there. We all know there's people struggling out there. And there's never a good way of saying or shaming people into giving when, the scarcity mindset, when we're already struggling day to day with whatever we have going on in our lives. And so it really means a lot to me when I see people give, even when it's at a cost to them. It's something that is inspiring and it causes me to give more myself. And it just opens up that world of helping each other because I do believe that as we work together, even if it's just a tiny little act of kindness, generosity is so underrated. And I love that you guys are bringing it to Web3 because, like I said, with my voice and art, this is the time to really make a space for ourselves. And generosity, hospitality, fundraising, that is something I want to see so much in the future for Web3. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.